picture and they wrap it to the item. So you can do this. Gage talked about, can I do this with other things? Yeah, you absolutely can. It's fairly complicated. I don't think that it's something that I usually just go, hey, you just learn how to do this, let's talk about the advanced stuff. So if that's something you specifically want to know, I'd be happy to show you. But what you should know is this is no different than taking a bitmap or a JPEG or a PNG and just going blah, like a vehicle wrap. Okay? Same idea. They take this thing and they just kind of plop it on there. It is not appropriate for every item you create. Sometimes the scale of the wrapped image is too big or too small for the object you made. It'd be like taking a Coca-Cola bottle and taking the wrapper off of it and then putting it on a car and being like, well, that vehicle wrapped, right? No, that doesn't fit, right? You took the Coke bottle wrapper and you put it on a car and it looks ridiculous. Same idea. If you create something super huge, then you need a graphic that then fits that super huge thing. Okay? So same idea here. So we can adjust a lot of these things. And the way you go about that is if you go to this guy, whatever is in your usage library, and you double click it, it's going to come up with a panel, wait for it, that has some pretty cool stuff. It has the finish, right? You can see this guy. For some people that may say glossy, it may say matte, depending on what material you use. For mine, it just has wood finishes. So it has, as you can see, a satin finish, which is kind of a low gloss, semi, and then high gloss. Okay? And then I could also go unfinished if I wanted. So depending on what I do this to, I may say, look, I really love this high gloss floor, but if I wanted to build a table, maybe I wanted it in a satin finish so it doesn't reflect so much. Okay? So again, that's going to be a personal preference. But here's how that goes. Like I said, you're going to double click on this guy. It's going to open this panel. It's going to give you an image. And if you double click on the image, it's going to give you the ability to open an additional panel that has this guy right here. See that dude?
Which image did you just
Yeah. Not the sample, but the image right here. That guy.
The pattern. So mine's super blurry. Does that mean I'm too zoomed in or what?
You said it's blurry.
I can't really
The
see
object
the
is really blurry.
No, like the pattern is.
Like on the object?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it probably is that the scale is off. So you're probably going to want to do what we're doing. So again, this is going to be, let me just move you guys over.
Why is my mixer different?
So these guys, the way that they're going to work is they do give you a live preview here. Okay, it's not always instantaneous. Sometimes you have to wait. There's a little bit of a lag time. It's applying in real time an image that it's sourcing from a library to an object. So that may seem like no big deal to you, but it's kind of higher end for a graphics card. So it does take a second. But if I wanted to, let's say that this is currently, as you can see, it is 39 by 39. Let me just scroll that up a little bit. So my sample size is 38.9 by 38.9 repeating. So let's just say that I wanted this thing to be 20. So I type in 20. When I click the next field, because they're linked, it's going to adjust that. See what happened there? It automatically adjusted this guy because this little link is there. But see what happened to my sample?
Yeah.
It updated, right? It did take a second. So let me just show you again. So let's go, I want to do this 50. So again, I'm going to just advance to the next field. It takes just a second, and then I've updated that. Okay. So let's say that I'm really not happy with that guy. I want it to be 100, and you can see that now it's morphing over and over again. The cool part about this is it's actually doing both of these items at the same time. Okay, and that's important because, again, let's say that I made 2 lamps and I applied that same material to both lamps. I'm not going to want to find the perfect scale for one and then be like, oh crap, I got to remember it for the other one. If I took from this usage library and applied to both items, it updates the scale simultaneously. Versus if I pull it from this available library separately, then I have to update the scale for each item. So 2 times, imagine if you did like, if you decide to do the chessboard, right? And you did the squares, think about that just for a second. Every other square, not cool, right? Each one you're gonna be like, oh, scale. Like, I would totally just redo that. That's yeah.
Mine doesn't have the same menu as yours does.
Yeah, every material is a little bit different, so I'm assuming you probably didn't pick the same wood.
I picked
So I don't have
Coco
American
Bolo.
chili.
Say that again?
I don't have American chili on mine.
You've got a what?
I don't have American chili.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what one did you pick?
Adioroba, something.
Was it a wood?
Yeah, your wood up there. One down. I'm generic with the wood. Second one down. Yeah, that.
To answer your question, Bros, because it doesn't really matter. Every material is going to have a different set of these things.
Got it.
So, the last thing I want to show you is just the repeat pattern, because for some people, if you have a tile, like for instance in this wood, if I really wanted this to kind of look like a wooden sphere, I probably want that pattern to repeat, so it looks like individual parquet, right? But let's just say I don't. I'm going to go to none and none, and you can see that starts to look really funny, because again, it's just a picture. So if the picture didn't repeat, that's where that sample, that little picture that it took, applied to the image, right? So it's going to be kind of weird looking, probably even more so with this thing. Right? So it gets a little wild. But you can, if you want, to turn those off if it's something that you can sample large enough that you don't want it to repeat. And again, that's going to be kind of specific to whatever thing you're making. So again, the other part of this is that you could then change the rotation on this thing. If you wanted this to be curved in one direction or the other, you can actually wrap this, and it comes in a number of degrees. So if it's, you have an item that it looks like this thing should be going the exact opposite way, 90 degrees from the pattern, you just rotate it the other way. So those guys, I think, are kind of neat to play with. Like I said, this is, again, all you're going to do is whatever. Let me do ceramic, because that one is a lot of different ones too. So let's just say that I want this guy to be ceramic. Okay. You can see that has a whole bunch of little tiles on it. Not bad. But let's say I wanted those tiles to be a different size. I would just double click on there. Again, I would double click the picture. And then I'm going to get over here and it's going to talk to you a little bit about the offset, the sample size. On this one, I probably want tile because it's pretty functional at this point. But I may want something a little bit different. You can see that here's my high gloss. If I wanted that to be satin instead, I could change that there. And again, it's going to be a little bit different for every material. You're welcome to mess around with those. They're kind of neat to play with. But that is material application. Okay. So I wanted to give you the timeline, and then we have about 2 hours left of just straight work time. Next week, you're going to have a bunch of time to work on this. Obviously, you have a couple hours tonight. Next week is the same. You're going to have quite a bit of time. I did mention I'm going to introduce lighting, which is the final component of this, which kind of makes it look kind of neat. It does take a little bit of time to get it exactly the way you want, but overall it's not hard. It's just, I think, too much for one night. So I'm going to take probably about 15 minutes or so to show you lighting. There's a couple different things to show you, not only just putting them in, but then how to direct them, intensity control, blah blah blah, all that cool stuff. So we'll talk